You know, people know me as a gentleman, and I never, ever swear on camera. Yeah, sorry about that. So here we are with Thomas and and the Porsche 718 Cayman Gt4 RS, the last hurrah for the combustion engine here for the 718 models. Before Cayman and Boxster go all electric, this one here is the sports pinnacle. Let's go. How can you even top a GT4? Well, the RS has more lightweight packages. For example, here, carbon fiber reinforced plastics, CFRP, for the hood, some other parts, lightweight windows. And if you have the optional Weissach package, it's also visible carbon fiber on the outside. Also very interesting how they lead the air, not only in the lower part, but also here, goes in here and then cools the brakes from the inside. So a lot of interesting aerodynamic tricks they did here, soon more to that. And here comes one of the situations where someone says something and then it can't get out of your head. So sorry for that. Look at this opening here. Doesn't it look like clown's face? What do you think, AJ? No? You don't think so?
Sounds
Come on.
like a dolphin.
Like a dolphin? Guys, I mean, isn't it like... Tell me in the comments, what do you think, right? 4 meters 46 or 176 inches is the length, and wow, what a profile, isn't it? Wow. Did you know, by the way, that the length and even the wheelbase from 911 to 718 is not too different actually? The main difference is here the 718 has a midship engine concept. The engine sits here, whereas in the 911 it would sit kind of here. Here in the Gt4 RS, the main difference to the normal GT4 is, when you take a look at the front, we have a GT4 here, there are no openings then on the front hood at the normal GT4, and also main difference at the rear windows. We usually have another rear window, but here then with the RS, you have the air intake here. So in this case then, the air intake for the engine is on the top part and the cooling for the engine is in the lower part. Whereas with the normal 718 versions, even with the normal 718 GT4, both air intake and cooling for the engine is both at the lower part. 20-inch wheels, either aluminum or optional even magnesium to bring the weight even more down. Between 1.4 and 1.5 tons is the curb weight, depending on the measuring technique. You can also get the carbon ceramic brakes here. Usually it would come with yellow brake calipers, but then you can also again pick a different color for that. And talking about color, here we have a nice silver car for you, but we also have other options, for example the Arctic Grey, blue wheels. That looks pretty spectacular, definitely. What about the striking red one? Or maybe go for gentian blue, and with bright wheels, of course. Yeah, that would be rather my favorite. What's yours? And then there's this very obvious thing, that rear wing, Gt4 RS stamping in here. So really massive. Also the Nürburgring Nordschleife times 23 seconds faster, the Gt4 RS, than the normal Gt4. That's massive. What else? Well, you can also adjust it. Also some aerodynamic parts in the front. And this one here, the classic one, is still active. The rear lights, slim LED signature, and then in the rear, lower part, wow, massive. Diffuser and also real exhaust. No job for the Outlook for fake exhaust produced today. This can be also bought with titanium here in the Weissach package. And then it will even glow at night in a bluish note when you have really floored that one out. About flooring it out. When you compare this here, midship engine concept car, also a little bit cheaper, well, a little bit cheaper, it starts at 140,000 euros, to the even more expensive 911 GT3. They basically feature more or less the same engine, but then again, it's still 9 seconds faster on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Why is that? 911 gets rear axle steering, in the front double wishbone axle, and also brings more power to the ground because of the rear engine concept, so more traction on the rear axle. However, this one here also has some big advantages we'll experience on the racetrack very soon. AJ has joined me today and will now tell us more about the engine, because they have done some very special things with that one.
I think the centerpiece of this GT4 RS is the intake manifold. So the entire intake process actually starts here with the intakes which have moved to where the windows were. And Thomas, if you come around here, you see there's a brand new airbox. So actually what you kind of have is a quartet. You have a string quartet and you're the conductor. You have the sound of the intake, the sound. You have the resonance of the airbox, which starts screaming. You have the combustion of the engine, which is your trumpets, and the exhaust as well, your brass section. And you are the conductor, and with your right foot, you can bring one part of the quartet to life and bring the other one as you go off throttle, and it's downshifting. So it's a really fantastic experience in terms of sound on the inside. You can also hear the sound thanks to the lighter windows. So the 4-liter flat 6 engine is naturally aspirated, makes 500 horsepower, which is 80 horsepower more than the GT4, has 450 Newton meters as well. It can accelerate to 100 kilometers per hour or 62 miles per hour in 3.4 seconds. It's almost half a second faster than the GT4. And finally, the crescendo is the 9,000 RPM for this quartet of yours. Now the gearbox is only a 7-speed PDK, and this is an RS, so RS, of course, is the track version. There is no manual, and we had a conversation about this, and ultimately, first of all, manuals are kind of dying out, unfortunately. And even though this is the GT3 engine from the 911 GT3, it's the other way around. So you cannot use the gearbox from the 911 GT3, and you can't use the manual gearbox from the GT4 because this has more power and torque, and it wouldn't be able to handle it. That extra 1,000 RPM of red line makes a lot of difference. So ultimately, we're stuck with the PDK, which I think is fine because the ratios are closer stacked. The manual always is a little bit tall, the gearing, and that's also because of emission regulations. So, like Thomas said, this is the swan song, so we're gonna have to have it with the PDK.
Right, let's take a look at the inside. Well, in this case I have to go down so you can better see me and the vehicle. First of all, door closing sound. It's actually quite decent, although these are of course frameless windows, and they move up then always when you close it. And on the inside you can see here race text, that's how they call the microfiber, is being used, and here with blue contour stitches, and here also lightweight building style. Just, you know, these fabric hangers then to open the door right here. We already know it from a Boxster T, for example. Here then Gt4 RS entry badge, also with carbon fiber, and a race tech steering wheel. And you see there are no mode switches for the driving mode on the steering wheel because this is always in the Sport Plus mode. You also hear it in the background. Yeah, and therefore you don't need a separate driving mode. And for the first time here, also race text being used on the dashboard here. Really very beautiful. Next to, in this case, blue racetrack on that bucket seat. The bucket seat is standard, and you can also get these additional seat belts. They're not allowed to install them for you, so you have to install them yourself because they are not street legal. But for racetrack use, you could use them, of course, and it's a little bit, you know, double when you have, but you know, for racetrack it's good. Other than that, leave it out. And here, this and the Weissach package also has a special stitching with the Weissach test track. That's why, you know, the name comes from that. They have a special racetrack in the small town of Weissach, and that's why, you know, they also offer these special racing packages. All right, let me crouch inside because this one here sits 30 millimeters lower also than the usual Cayman, and yeah, that's the way you get in these seats. And I mean, they might look very uncomfortable, and of course here with the double seatbelt it's not ideal, of course, but actually, you know, if you compare standard seats also of the, you know, 718, these are fairly comfortable indeed, and maybe even more comfortable because, I mean, you cannot really adjust them. You can just slide forward and backward, and that's it, kind of. But here you have, you know, very good shoulder support. It also fits my height, 1.86 6'1", enough headroom. And this kind of takes weight off your lumbar area, and also in this lower part you really, you know, held tight for racetrack use, but at the same time, you know, because the seat really takes weight off, you know, the whole entire body, you have actually some decent comfort. So that's interesting. Also manual control, and for the steering wheel also as much weight savings as possible. And yeah, once again, I just love this microfiber steering wheel. It has the best grip for racetrack. Instruments, well, there is some digital stuff, yes, but everything is focused on the analog RPM meter. We also have the classic analog clock there in the middle. As for the infotainment, you also have some hotkeys here in the lower part. This is actually quite cool, for example for the map. It's actually quite decent, it does the job. And you also have Apple CarPlay connection, for example, like this. And the infotainment system would be standard, but you can also de-pick it for more weight savings, and then you would have just a hole there. Gt4 Rs is only available here with the PDK, but it has a manual style, you know, so kind of deceiving. Looks manual, but only available here with the Porsche dual clutch transmission. Something you can adjust, you can make the suspension stiffer right here, and you can also go to PDK Sport, and that changes shifting. For example, the gears are being held a little bit longer, so even better than for the racetrack. Once again, this microfiber dashboard looks beautiful, and the Weissach package also comes with a special badge right here. And you might remember here behind carbon fiber, there you have the cup holders. Maybe not the most ideal for the racetrack. Beautiful stamped here in the microfiber, that logo, and then underneath you have then your USB-A charger. Also in the Weissach package, or also in the Club Sport package, you can get here this roll bar from titanium, and here also painted then in this dark blue. That's pretty cool. On the key fob or here you can also then open front and rear trunk. And you know, the main purpose of this huge rear wing is not aerodynamics, it's to open the trunk, you know, without blowing down, right? So here we go, and you still see you can use it somehow. Let's put the backpack inside. Upright is not that good, but you rather lay it down than like this. Other than that, you can access water and oil right here. And this is also really special. The first time we can see something of the engine here in the Cayman Gt4 Rs badge. In the Weissach package, you also get the carbon fiber cover. But this is actually the so-called air box. So where you see where the air then gets from the outside into, you know, to this part, and then get actually in the engine. So very spectacular. And also once again here the roll cage. Wow, this is massive. Well, there's some things for weight savings. You don't have like a real Porsche logo on there, you know, just you know, like a more elaborated sticker. At some points, the hell with weight savings, right? Well, but here then, oh, you feel how light this CFRP hood is. That's a huge difference. And yeah, then you still have a proper frunk. Don't need to have an electric vehicle to have a proper frunk. You can see also cabin trolleys or backpacks also then fit up here in an upright way. Here, by the way, you can also see it from the inside of the hood that it's really all made of that one material. That's why also being so light. What the hell? Welcome everyone. That was 250 kilometers an hour. What the? So welcome here. I'm not sure if you can even hear me, because this one here doesn't have a sound regulation on the inside, because everything has to be regulated on the outside, but not on the inside. And since we have this special air intake, this creates so much sound actually. Oh my god. I'm not even sure what we are driving at this moment, but I can tell you this is far from everything you have ever experienced. Estoril racetrack in Portugal used to be Formula 1 track as well, and this 718 here, I mean, it has so good traction, such a balanced handling, very well sitting in these racetrack's bucket seats, and here now the closest thing on the track here, and a little bit breaking out. Whoa, my goodness. This is probably the raciest car I've ever driven. Wow, such a great handling And this naturally aspirated engine has such a linear power curve. Here, this famous long curve now powering. Oh my goodness. I mean, with the GTS versions, we were here with Mark Webber. And now I'm definitely feeling like I'm Mark Webber myself. So everything they did to this car made it even racier, and this is always in the Sport Plus mode. There is no selector or something. This is always in the sportiest mode that is available. And I love this naturally aspirated engine. You don't have like this turbo kick. You really have to pause your moderation because it's not possible to talk all the time. I love the naturally aspirated engine. It has such a natural output. So everything this car delivers feels, you know, just combined with your body and your soul and the racetrack. Everything flows together. To me, this is the perfect driving machine, and in front of us is a 911 GT3 with basically the same engine, just 10 horsepower more because of the exhaust. And we know it might be 10 seconds faster on a Nürburgring Nordschleife than this one here because of the extra technology. But here with this one, I would take this one here as my track vehicle all day, definitely. 1 on 30 here in that corner, and all the way we go to hell. Whoa, and when we arrived here at this racetrack, AJ and me, actually they were serving some earplugs, and I thought like, okay. What for? Well, now we know what the earplugs were for. Woo! AJ, we're not on the racetrack anymore. Actually, we switched to the road now, so do we even have number plates on this one?
I don't care. If you go fast enough, number plates don't matter.
Oh man. Well, I mean, the thing is, we saw it goes well on the racetrack, but is it also suitable for hearing something on the road?
I don't even know why they give you an infotainment system with or at least a music system, because this is the music that you want to hear. Remember the whole the quartet thing I was talking about? This is what you want to really hear. Oh, thank you, Mr. Fiat Punto.
God, you were on these like middle curves, you know? There was like losing traction.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
this shouldn't
I mean, it's
accelerate
like-
the way it does.
It's like you're so fast, so early. Wow. I mean, you could easily leave out this infotainment system because no one can ever hear any music in here, you know?
No way.
I mean, don't you feel that this car is kind of like misplaced on the road a little bit?
It is. It definitely is. Well, no. I mean, it depends. So conclusive. Such great journalism. No. Here's what I mean. First of all, it's the same story with the GT4. Surprise, surprise. It's not that comfortable. It's a bit jiggly. It's got no sound deadening whatsoever, which in this case is good because you want to hear all of that string quartet right behind your head. But on the other hand, it's not a huge car. It still wraps itself around you quite well. There's enough space for two people. You know, it's got cruise control. It's got sat nav. So it is something that you could live with. Maybe not the most suitable road trip car, of course.
I think probably because of the noise, you know, also when we have like some stones on the road, it's like you hear so much from that.
It's a little bit
like,
worrying.
Yeah,
It's like, what's happening?
definitely.
It sounds like you're driving the car through a grinder. It's like,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
And you know, when you maybe not when you're like pushing it too much, but just a little bit, then you hear that thing, you know, like
The Darth Vader.
yeah, it's like AJ, I am your driving teacher.
That does sound like Darth Vader behind you. But see, now I've put PDK Sport off, and I'm just using very mild throttle. It's at 60 kilometers an hour, and it's already in 6th gear. So it doesn't have to be loud and shouty. So it is something you can live with, but it's not a car necessarily designed for this. It's more a race track weapon.
Yeah, maybe we can put PDK Sport off and also put that exhaust note off, and then, well, it's still, but not that much,
It's
you
better.
know.
It's an improvement.
But in that way, you know, when you cruise a little bit more, have the PDK Sport off, exhaust valve off,
Yeah.
it's more or less okay, you know. So, I mean, once again, these bucket seats, I think they really keep you tight, but also reduce the weight on the lumbar area.
You're right.
So, I mean, the 780 in general is not the most comfortable car ever.
Yeah.
But considering, you know, the sportiness, I think the bucket seats are actually doing a fairly good job.
The seats are really good. I will give you that. The support here towards your shoulder blades really does relieve a lot of the stress on the lower back. And it was not as uncomfortable on bumpy roads as I was expecting. You know, it's similar to the GT4 there as well. So the suspension is of course, it's a compromise, but it's not something that's too steep.
It's not that rough, actually. I mean, considering it's so sporty,
Yeah.
you
Right-
could
right
expect
now.
to be rougher, you know, like
Yeah.
here, this is super smooth, actually. Also,
The road is very nice.
yeah, the road was very nice, but, you know, I didn't have any moment where it's like, oh, this is like giving me a really kick in the back or something.
Yeah.
I mean, we can put the suspension stiffer here.
Yeah.
That does make it even stiffer, but
Yeah, this is not for the street. You want to leave it.
Yeah, now you feel that it's a little bit like
It's
that's
a
more
little
like
bit
when you really
unsettled.
want the, you know, stiffest setup for the racetrack or something. But
Yeah.
but even, you know, we didn't have to activate it on the racetrack actually. You know. Well, and in the front of us, Tesla Model 3. So I mean, experiencing all of that and around the racetrack and with the sound and so on.
It's the antithesis.
This is kind of like it's the anti-Tesla basically, right? What we have here, very.
Yeah,
very
but that's also kind of tying into what we said earlier. Is this is the swan song of the 718?
last hurrah, definitely. So and I mean, the 911 will probably be around a little bit longer as combustion engine. Also for the 718 here, we expected that they run it parallel with the new electric Cayman and maybe also electric Boxer. We have to see about that, but maybe like more the Macan on a parallel basis. Yeah, but that brings us to the, last question for the day. 911 or 780? We really had a blast here today with the GT4 RS on the racetrack. What a racy vehicle, incredible really. Which one would you actually pick, 780? Or we brought the 911 GT3 here on picture as well. It's always a tough decision. They're not too different in wheelbase or length actually. It's quite astonishing. Of course, this one is a little bit cheaper. To me, the 718 it is because it has this balanced handling in the middle, midship engine concept. I like to catch the car whenever I want to, just feel more unified with that vehicle here actually. Yeah, And of course, open top. I would rather pick a Boxster, I think, but definitely 718 for me it is. What about you, AJ?
Well, for me, it would be the 911 because I've had a bad experience with this midship layout on a wet Hockenheimring racetrack with the GT4 where, well, snap oversteer. And I've had pretty good experience even on ice with a rear-wheel drive GT3 RS, so I will take the GT3 any day.
Well, then if you want to see more, 911 GT3 touring package, we got a video of that there. And more differences, 780, 911 with the more, let's say, streety versions. A video here for you. Tune in there.